Hello, my name is Carl Bruning and I'm a field application scientist with Repligen. Today I'm going to show you how to connect the KONDUiT Base Unit to the KR2i system and show you how the probes work in automatic mode. So the KONDUiT unit comes with a base unit on the left, a half-inch connectivity probe, a quarter-inch connectivity probe, a communication cable to the system, a communication cable to the probe, and a power adapter. For the KMPI, also a null modem adapter is provided. In the back of the unit there's two ports, each for UV and two ports for connectivity. Simply connect the connectivity cable to the back and screw in place. And we're going to do the same thing to the communication cable on the front of the unit. And now we're going to install the power cable and screw that down just the same way. Now, as part of the octopus cable on the back, there's an auxiliary port that's never really used. This is where you're going to connect up that communication cable to the port on the conduit. Each connectivity sensor has a unique K value which must be input into the computer. Also notice that each sensor has hose barb fittings and we must convert those to lure lock. On each side of the probe I put a piece of size 15, also with a lure lock fitting, so that we can connect this up to the permeate. So what I've done coming off the permeate is I put an elbow so that if there's any air trapped in the system, the air will expel out through the top. And here's my sensor, so it's going to travel straight through. So now I'm going to hook up the permeate line as well as the communication line from the conduit back to the sensor. And they just slide together. Okay, now we're going to turn on the power to the conduit. Notice that that light turns green. So after we've logged into the software, we're going to go in and run a manual run. And we are all connected up here on the right. As you can see, the conduit is at the top, and that is green, so we know that that's working now. So we're going to put in a unique trial ID. And we're going to save and start. Now I'm going to go to the flow diagram screen and I'm going to bring up the conduit. This is where I need to put in my K factor, and it was 0.940. And then hit start. That setting has now been successfully saved. I've stopped the manual run and I want to show you how to program a recipe now. Okay, now let's go program a recipe. Say I want to do a CD. Do a 10x concentration followed by a 5 dV diafiltration. This is a KR2i system, although this could also be used on a KMPI or an FS15 or FS500. One auxiliary pump to power the diafiltration. to control retentate pressure. The starting position of 30% closed. And I want to apply 5 psi retentate pressure. Tubing size is 16. And here's where I input my K factor. So instead of 1, this is 0.940. And when I hit save, that's going to be input into the recipe, and we no longer have to worry about inputting that data. Okay, now we're going to run that recipe that we just created. So I'm going to go back over here to trial run in auto mode. I'm going to connect up. Put in our unique trial ID number. Going to bring up the recipe that we programmed. And when I hit save and start, the recipe will begin. Okay, you can see we've stopped the concentration and now we're beginning the diafiltration into a high salt. And you can see that that salt peak has increased greatly. So as the diafiltration continues, you'll start to see that salt peak plateau out and your conductivity will achieve stable baseline. After 4.5 dVs, you can begin to see the peak plateau. For those customers using the optional UV vis, either A280 or 260 or both, each one has a sensor and each one has a light source. The light source comes into each end of the sensor, and the fluid flows through the sensor. I recommend to customers to wrap these in aluminum foil to avoid any incident radiation from the light affecting the measurement. And you can see here there's a tear button. Only push the tear when it's full of buffer. If you don't, and you tear it with 0, then it's tearing it with air. And that's it. If you have any questions, please contact your local FAS. Thank you.